Oh my god, guys, guess what I just realized? No one could hear me for probably the past few minutes. It's okay. It's been about 4 minutes. None of y'all heard me. You just saw me typing things. But that's okay. That's why we're live, and we can carry on. So let me start over. It's me, Cyber Warrior. This is Tech Tuesday. I love you guys. Thanks for bearing with me, if you're still here. And so let me start over. All right. So this is ParrotSec. This is a deeper dive into ParrotSec and Linux in general. And the reason I'm using ParrotSec is because personally I love it. But beyond that, it is an offensive security distribution that, unlike Backtrack and Kali, where you always logged into root for the longest time until most recently when their newer rolling release came out that newish. I think 2020.1, maybe .2 was when they changed it. But essentially, ParrotSec, for as long as I've used it, has always required a user login. So you had a better permission set. You had to be user and then give yourself sudo permissions to do anything with admin rights. So that's why I've always used it. But anyways, I showed you LL just a little bit ago, and if you didn't see what it does, LL, I call it a long list. It could be quite a few different things, but essentially it lists out the files and directories that are not hidden within your current directory. And all LL is an alias. And I love aliases. I set up aliases for a lot of different things. One of the main things I set up aliases for is how I take a look at files and directories within Linux. And the reason for that is I have a tendency when I do my aliases, I'll use ls-lha, which takes ls and it puts it with, it lists everything out, makes everything human readable, and it shows all files. So as you can see here, and let me zoom in on this a little bit for you guys. There you go. Now you can see it. They already have some aliases in ParrotSec for us, which is amazing, right? So there's aliases I don't have to create. So LL is actually ls-lh. So it's essentially everything I do minus the all files. So it doesn't show hidden files, but it does make all file sizes and directory sizes in a human readable format, meaning it's not going to show that your file is 2,567 bytes. It's actually going to break things down into kilobytes, megabytes, gigabytes, things of that nature. And then the LA is going to show all files to include hidden files, which is great as well. Thanks, SecCon. You know, everybody makes mistakes, so you know what? I carry on with it, and that's how we're going to go about business. But yeah, so ParrotSec, and one of the reasons I do love it is because it does have all these aliases built in as well. And as you guys can see here, the newer distributions, this was not in my last distro. I did not have them here. So if anybody that is watching this has seen memes about making Linux more angry or more pleasant to do things or whatever, let me highlight something for you here. They have added in ParrotSec these aliases. Please, which is an alias for sudo, or fucking, which is an alias for sudo. So yes, you can say, please cd or please cat etc password, and it's the same as saying sudo etc password or sudo etc shadow, or you can say fucking cat etc shadow, and it'll be sudo etc shadow. So those are some awesome aliases that they've added in. I think it's hilarious because that is the first time that I've seen it in their bash RC file. So if anybody watching knows when they added that in as a default alias to the bash RC file, please leave a comment, send a message, let me know, because that makes my day. Now, since they have the aliases that I tend to use without going into, you know, worrying about my GitHub repos or anything right now, that's awesome. All right, so that just makes my day. So we can get out of this. And as you can see, real quick, before I do that, there's actually an option here that if you want to, you can create a .bash aliases file, or .bash underscore aliases, and just put all of your aliases that you want to use in there that are not already labeled in the .bash rc file. And that way you have a whole separate file for your aliases. Some people choose to do that. Prior to that being in the .bash RC file, back when I first started messing with Linux years ago, I did everything in .bash RC. If you use a different terminal, so if you use ZSH or Z Shell or all the other shells that are out there, there's a ton of them. I use ZSH or Bash. I don't really use anything else. But if you do use other shells, they all have their own RC profile setup. So you'll see .zsh for their profiles. And a lot of people that use .z shell or use Z shell actually use Oh My Z shell to do their profiles. And it allows them to do formatting and things like that. That's what I use for my Mac. So, yeah, moving on. We're just going to quit because I'm going to make changes. They already have LH or LA and LL in here. So, it makes my life easy. So, as you can see, I wasn't really cared about byte size when I did my most recent ls-la. But, if... Discover, quit telling me there's updates available. I know. It's Linux. There's a lot of updates a lot of the time. So, as I said, -ls-la. As you can see the thousands. So 19,526 bytes just for accession errors. So if I do LA, now that is the exact same directories, but in a kilobyte format, right? So it's human readable. We can see these bytes. So as opposed to trying to convert however many bytes down to the kilobyte, megabyte, gigabyte, whatever, it's now human readable. So once it hits that 1,000 mark, as you can see, the .config file is 1.7K, meaning 1.7 kilobytes. The .accession errors is 20 kilobytes, right? So 20,000 bytes. So that LH switch gives us that option. The LHA, in Linux, if you put a dot before a file name or directory, it is a hidden file or directory. So it's the equivalent of going on Windows and right-clicking, going to your folder or file properties and saying, hide this, right? You don't want it viewable by just any user. That's the same. The dot before any file or folder in Linux is the exact same thing. So that's what you're seeing here. That's why you see a lot of dots, because that's how they hide their files. And so if I do LL, that's why you don't see the .x or .profile or .kde, because LL or ls.lh isn't going to show the hidden files. So that's just a little rundown of how I do my initial setups, and that's, again, another reason I love ParrotSec. Their profiles don't require me to make really any changes right off the bat. Now, down the line, as I do different things, there may be some other changes I make. For instance, if we do which Python, actually, Python version. All right, so Python -- version shows me that Python 2.7 is what is run when I do just the Python command. However, and sometimes you need Python 2, but if I do Python 3, I know that Python 3.9.1 is here. So if you never want to use Python 2, or if you have no intent of using it without using the full command, you can actually flip it. You can do it the one way, where you make Python 3 your default version and it, overtakes 2.7, or you can put an alias in and just say you want Python to be an alias for Python 3. So you find your Python 3 binary and you set your alias for that destination. Personally, I'm so used to having the two different versions in there that I leave Python as Python 2 and Python 3 as Python 3. That's just me. You can also remove Python 2.7 or Python version 2 if you so see fit. But there are still a lot of offensive security scripts out there. And actually, one of my favorite books, Violent Python, which hasn't been updated. I don't know if it's ever going to be updated. But that was written with Python 2 in mind. Python 3, I don't think had even come out yet. So looking at scripts like that, Python 2 is still relevant to this day, so you may want both versions. Now, moving on. I love TOR. All right, TOR is an amazing anonymity tool. Now, if you go on the TOR network, Yes, Aaron, it is a great book. I actually was in the military when I went through my course. Mark Baggett was my instructor for Python. So I believe he was the technical editor for that book, if I recall correctly. And awesome instructor. Dude was amazing. He's a SANS instructor, teaches their Python course. Amazing instructor, taught me a lot about Python. And actually, I want to say it was a few years back, he helped me out with a script. I was completely forgetting to return a value that I should have been returning to the variable. Stupid mistake, but he helped me fix it. Fomat, thanks for letting me know. I need to get... So, anybody on Twitch that isn't seeing it, Fomat and YouTube just put up the second edition of Black Hat Python is being released and has been updated for Python 3. That's amazing. I'm going to have to buy that. And who knows, maybe I'll be doing a giveaway soon. I got to see how much the book costs. So, if I can get my hands on 2 copies of it, all of my followers and subscribers will definitely get a chance to enter that contest once I figure out how I want to do it. All right. Now, moving on. Let's talk about TOR. Anybody in chat, do you know what TOR is? Anybody? Anybody? I know there's a delay, so I'm kind of waiting. All right. So no results. I know there's a delay, but still I'm not seeing anything in the chat. So I'll take that as a no, even though you probably do. A lot of people know what TOR is. But TOR is a proxy that essentially anonymizes all your traffic to an extent. There's still ways to figure out who you are, but it makes it very, very difficult. Alias for torch, Shobi Pu can burn the world. Nice. But I love TOR. All right. Yes. The TOR browser is a browser to search on, but there's a reason. TOR gives you access to what is called the dark web. All right. Now, I'm not going to go into the difference between ClearNet, deep web, and dark web. There's a lot of articles on there. So on the topic. So if you want to go out and research it, feel free. All right, you basically comes down to a glacier where you see, ClearNet up here, deep web here, darknet down here, and then even below that, there's unlisted internet completely that is really difficult to get to unless you know the right people. But yeah, TOR is the darknet. I2P falls in that realm also, but TOR is what's built into Parrot and Anon Mode. And Anon Mode is amazing. So initially, the way to access it was AnonSurf, GTK on. Did they change it on me? I bet you they changed it on me. All right, so they changed it on me. I'm sure there's another terminal way to do it, but for now, there is a GUI now for AnonSurf. Cyber Panda, how you doing, buddy? There is now a GUI for AnonSurf. And what this does is essentially takes all of your traffic. And I don't mean just a browser. So unlike the TOR browser that you can download and it is strictly Firefox and just that browser of Firefox that's routed through the TOR network, this will route all your traffic through TOR. And again, please, if I'm wrong, somebody correct me. But as I understand it, this is how... that's how AnonSurf is set up. It changes your IP tables. It does a lot of different fun things that anonymizes your traffic. So you hit start. Do you want to kill dangerous applications? Yeah, sure. Why not? And because it requires administrative tasks, we have to give it our password. Yeah. All right. Sometimes I always forget which one it is. Error with TOR ports. Why you gotta be stupid like that in the middle of a show? Enable. There we go. Enabled it boot now. Cool. Back. My IP. getting data from server. You know what? I bet you with the virtual machine, it is being stupid today. Refresh. There we go. All right. All right. Took a little to get it to work. All right. That's why I do these, right? Because I love doing things live, and I love making mistakes. So other people see how I go about fixing them. And sometimes it catches you off guard, like that just did. I expected it to just work. It didn't just work. And Cyber Panda, I am fantastic, especially tonight doing this video. Even with everything going on in my life right now, and it's a lot. I love talking to all of you. I love doing these videos. So we're on Anon Mode. That's right, FOMAT. So we're on Anon Surf right now. So if I click my IP, we're gonna get it from the server. And no, I'm not giving anybody watching my actual IP for my public IP. That's not gonna happen. Doesn't like it. Why? All right, I've never used that feature before. Let's just be honest, I haven't. What's the difference? I didn't want that. I want this. Don't open Dolphin. No one wants Dolphin. I don't need my file browser. But I do want this. Oh, other great thing about Parrot, since I had to pull this up, because I'm going to pull this up so that I can see everything. Well, not everything, but a lot of the stuff that's built into the Tor browser that people talk about, all right, and like was mentioned earlier by SecCon on Twitch, is actually added to the ParrotSec version of Firefox. So those add-ons are already there. So Privacy Badger, uBlock Origin, and HTTPS everywhere, and I believe NoScript is installed. It's just not showing. Let me check. Come on. See, when you have a mouse, a gaming mouse, my DPI tends to get messed up. All right, I'm not seeing it. So let's check our extensions before I speak out of my ass. Add-ons, extensions, privacy. Oh, so it's not there. So we want NoScript in search. So we'll add that to our browser, because if you're going to use an on mode, you want to disable JavaScript. Come on. Just an FYI, depending on your link through Tor, it can be extremely slow, because you're essentially bouncing through three different relays before you hit, three different relays before you finally hit your exit node and access the internet. So here's NoScript. And what NoScript does is it disables JavaScript unless you allow it for any particular site or whatever. So if you're trying to be anonymous, JavaScript has a tendency to leak information. You don't want it to leak. So that's why we add NoScript, so that you can disable JavaScript and only run it if you absolutely need it. If you are using Parrot or any distribution or any web browser for home use, or any Linux distribution for home use, and you are trying to access things like YouTube, like Facebook, or any of the other social networking sites, and even a lot of other sites out there that you are like, oh, I could access this before, why can't I access it now? A lot of the times it's because if you're using something like NoScript, disabling JavaScript will break a lot of sites out there. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So if you are trying to be anonymous, you shouldn't be using Facebook anyways. They do have a Onion site now. I can't remember what it is offhand. I know it's like they actually cycled through all of the endpoint names or all the Onion links until they finally got one that I think that said Facebook in somewhere in there. So you can get Facebook now on the darknet. I don't know why you would. You still need to enable JavaScript. They still siphon all your data. But hey, I don't know. It's on you. Don't get me wrong, I use Facebook, but I don't see a reason why to do it from the darknet. So if somebody has a reason to access it through Tor, please let me know. So while that's installing, let's go through And let's say, what's my IP? And I know what my IP is offhand. So I will tell you right now whether or not this is my IP. And I can actually, we can geo search it too. About this page. So, other downside with Tor when it uses Google. For some reason, this is using Google to search and not DuckDuckGo, but it is what it is. This search, as you can see here, has my IP address as 45.153.160.132. If you can't see that, let me zoom in a little bit. All right. Our systems have detected unusual traffic from your computer network. When you're on Tor, you'll see that a lot. All right. Because people use Tor to do things that are malicious. To log directly into Facebook when bought the forgotten password, maybe. Yeah, who knows, man. Look, if you were sending bank information or anything over Tor, I'm sorry. Like, logging into private data or any data you want to be kept secret over Tor is a mistake. And that's because somebody at that other endpoint, because all the endpoints, all the exit nodes rather, from the Tor network are people's computers. It could be, I've heard that the NSA owns a lot of exit nodes, and probably other letter agencies, but anybody can sign up to be an exit node. So all it takes is somebody watching that traffic, and they can get your bank passwords, they can get your Facebook, Google, whatever. There's ways to strip the, decrypt that traffic so they can get all that information. So it's really not the smartest of ideas to access private information over Tor. I mean, it's bad enough accessing things over to ClearNet, but at least when you're accessing things like Facebook and stuff, you know what you're getting yourself into. I don't care about this challenge because I can already see my IP address right here. This IP address is not my public IP as far as what I actually use on a daily basis. This is the Tor IP. So there's actually another way we can do this. Tor check, I think it is. I can go to Tor project. There's actually a way. Oh, come on. DuckDuckGo.com. I don't want Google. Privacy Badger. We know is installed. No scripts. Add. Oh, she's running private windows. Okay, got it. All right, so no script is now installed, and now we're going to DuckDuckGo. So we want Tor browser check. There it is. So this is a little weird. So if this is right, yeah, there it is. Congratulations. So even the IP that Google was saying was wrong. This browser is configured to use Tor. IP address appears to be 104.244.78231. So that's how you know this browser is now on the Tor network. The other way you can do it is to view Onion files, or Onion websites, because .onion is the Tor network. So if you do Facebook Onion, oh crap, still got Google. I gotta change that. Let's go to DuckDuckGo. In case anybody's wondering, DuckDuckGo is a search engine that is supposedly private, doesn't sell your data, things like that. So I don't know if it's up to snuff with Google or Bing or any of the other ones that do sell your data, but it works. Facebook Onion site. We're gonna go to this just because there's some really messed up Onion sites out there. So if we go here, so we're gonna copy that, and then we're gonna go there. See if that works. Should. We'll see. Actually, let's look at the Wikipedia article for it. And again, this is the isn't DuckDuckGo from GoDaddy. CyberPanda, I really don't know. I don't know who owns DuckDuckGo. I do know they claim a lot about privacy. They claim they don't sell your data, all this other stuff. I've never truly looked into who owns it, but just like the other social networking sites out there that claim privacy, I don't ever buy into it. Anybody that says your data is private, we're all a commodity, I don't ever truly trust anything 100% that they are private. But here we go. So instead of going to a .com, I went to a .onion. So what I'm going to do now in the chat, just so you can see an example, I'm actually going to copy this and I'm going to paste it to... It doesn't let me paste. Dang it. That's right. So if you go to HTTPS Facebook core www.onion. Alright. So I sent the link and let's send it in the other chat. So if you guys go to that link right now from your machines and you're not connected to Tor, it will not connect. You will not get Facebook. .onion sites and .i2p sites are not available on the ClearNet. Meaning if you're not connected to the I2P network or to the Tor network, you cannot access those sites. So you can try. You can click the links and you can see if you can access them, but it's not gonna work. So again, if you look at other .onion sites or .i2p sites, a lot of times the links are actually just an encrypted name, or I'm not even going to say encrypted. It's just a randomization of characters. How Facebook, and I'd have to look at the wiki. I'm not going to do that right now. How Facebook was able to do this and get it to say Facebook core www. I read probably 2 or 3 years ago. I forget when they did it. I read when they first came out how they did it, but for everybody else that creates a .onion site, it's almost impossible to get it to be what you want it to be. So it's just a randomization of characters. Facebook just gamed the system and was able to do it this way. So, but yeah, so that's .onion, and this actually sees, if you look up here, and it's hard to see, but Facebook actually sees that I'm not running JavaScript. There's a link up there that says no script equals 1. So it knows that I'm not using JavaScript, which means it's not going to try to load in anything that would require JavaScript. A lot of pages don't do that. They just break, or the videos don't load and you don't know why. They don't give reasons. Whatever the case may be, using no script can break a lot of pages. All right. So that's Anon mode, right? So you see I'm coming from somewhere else. I'm not coming from my home location. So if we geolocate this IP... So let's see exactly where I'm technically coming from. Dang it. Let's go to DuckDuckGo. I got to change my search engine. So we'll have to do that also. We're going to have to change to DuckDuckGo because if you're connected to Tor, Google gets mad. And it requires me to do all those robot checks. Geolocate. Locate IP. Where is my IP location? So let's see. So do you guys have any questions so far? As far as what's going on. Wow. This has that my IP address is even something different than I did have. Did this change? So what it looks like, and I was not aware of this, every time I reload this page, it's connected to Tor, but it's constantly connecting me to a different IP address, which is crazy. I don't know when they enabled that. That's not how it used to be. It used to be a per session type of deal. So right now it thinks I'm coming out of Reston, Virginia. I'm not. But, hey, sure. We'll say I'm coming out of Virginia. If I take this IP, so this 51, which is what it apparently says I have now when I reloaded that. I'll be honest, I'm learning something new along with you guys. Tor didn't, or these browsers didn't say I used to change as much. So this IP right here that this particular tab has at this moment is actually in France. So according to geolocate of this IP, I'm in France, which is awesome. Like I said, this is how people get around geolocation. However, so for those watching this that are on blue teams, there are feeds out there, or pay spins or taxi feeds, whatever, that have in them the current, as of a particular date, a current subset of IPs that are TOR exit nodes. So when you're looking at either blocking traffic or monitoring traffic, you can take those IPs, feed them into your system, and know if somebody is trying to access your network over TOR. And the reason you would do that, depending on the company, is if you don't want to allow someone to access over the TOR network at all because either you have your own VPN service or something along those lines, then there's no reason for them to access your network through TOR, so you could block it. That way you can surmise that anybody who is accessing your network over the TOR network is trying to attempt to do something malicious. So that's why you would go out and look for the lists that have current, and again, you have to constantly keep it updated because anybody can become an exit node. So my current IP address right now, my actual public IP address, can become an exit node, which would add to that list. But not everybody, it changes frequently. So I'd say at least once a week if you are going to block those IPs or monitor them. Once a week, I would definitely update that list and make sure it's always kept up to date. With TOR, does it support IPv6? To my knowledge, I don't think it does yet, CyberPanda. And if I wasn't on TOR, I would look it up. But unfortunately, being on the TOR network, my internet's way too slow for doing basic searches right now. But in my time of using it, no, it has not used IPv6 at all. All right, so moving on. Now, we've looked at TOR and Anon Mode, right? So we have the GUI here. So if we want to kill TOR, wait, cancel. We're going to go to the GUI, and we're going to stop Anon serve. Do you want to kill dangerous applications? Yes, I already killed a few of them, but we're going to let it kill more. All right, it's no longer running. Deleted 2,361 files and recovered 50.7 megs of disk space. So we're going to close, and it's now deleted. Now, when it does that, it'll actually remove a lot of temporary files, and it will remove a lot of cache files, as you can see here. So .cache Mozilla. So you see it releasing and deleting anything that would have been in those folders and files. So that is one of the benefits of that Anon mode, because if you just download Tor browser, then you still risk things being kept in memory. Because, yeah, you can close the Tor browser. It's all kind of its own isolated environment. But when you're using something like Tor browser, especially on Windows or Mac, you never know where it's saving cached files. You never know where it's saving any of the data that you're storing to it. So, especially searches or images or whatever the case may be. So, I like the Anon mode because it actually goes through and cleans anything that may be sensitive or anything that you may have left behind. Thumbnails, temporary files, the whole 9 yards. So, to me, that's amazing. So, while we're at it, and while we're talking about privacy and things like that, are there any other questions yet? If not, I'll move on. But I just want to make sure whether or not there's questions from you guys as far as something you want to see, something you don't really understand. But from here, I'm going to go into one of the major tools that I like to use when looking at offensive security and OSINT especially. So I'll give it a second. Nada? All right, cool. So, what I like to do personally, one of the first things I always download. Now, anybody who has been on Backtrack for a long time and then rolled over to Kali may or may not have heard of a tool called the Discover Scripts. Lee Baird, as he does in a lot of my videos when I talk about OSINT or when I talk about security or setting up my operating systems and this, that, and the third, wrote an amazing set of scripts. It uses an amazing set of tools. And it is publicly available on GitHub. So what we're going to do is, right now, we're going to enable... Are you on a separate Wi-Fi when you do darknet stuff? No. I have no reason to be. Because at least where I live, my traffic is not really monitored like that. I'm not on a major ISP, so I don't necessarily worry about it. But I would do things if when I do things on the darknet, it's mainly trying to find information or gather OSINT about companies or clients or something like that. Something that I can bring to a client to give them information. So if I have a client that's not using something like Recorded Future or what have you, then I'll go and do my due diligence to do research to make sure no information is being leaked on a separate planet. You guys are funny. I love you guys. So where was I? Oh, yeah. Lee Baird Discover. So again, this is one of the first things I always grab. Always, always, always. And it requires some configurations. Because it is meant for Kali, and that is how the scripts were written. Alright, so it's taking into account sec lists and things like that that are already built into Kali. But it's okay, because I've actually made it work on Parrot, which I personally love. So we copy that, and then we go CD. Now, here's the thing about Discover Scripts. And again, these are OSINT tools. You can use them. You can use it for active scanning and active recon and things like that. I only ever use them for passive scanning and passive recon. That's just how I use them. But they always have to be, and you can read the README, but I've used them enough that they always have to be in CD/opt. So from there, you do, actually, real quick, let's go back and do LA. Because I want to make sure opt I have the right permissions, which I probably don't. No, I do not. So to do this, it sucks, but it is what I'm going to do. We're going to do sudo su. And we're going to change the root. Because if I don't have permissions to the opt directory. I can't write to it. And that's where this stuff needs to go. So we're going to do git clone. Whoops, not that IP. I thought I already copied this. So code. Control C. Control C V. Alright, there we go. So now we're going to get discovered. I'm not going to run this update.sh script yet. Solely because then it'll update my entire system and we'll have to wait. And I don't want to wait. But I will take you on a tour. So let's make this a little bigger so you can see. So cd discover ls. So there's a bunch of stuff this does. Alright, the passive scan is what I always do. But real quick, let's take a look at update. So if we do cat update.sh, actually we're going to do more. Let's do more so we can go through it little by little. So the first thing it's going to do is look for that opt shadow directory. And then it's going to delete it. Right? And you can go through and look. And it's going to say updating discover. Here it says updating Kali. But again, when I use this, it still works on Parrot, so it doesn't matter. But when it updates Kali, it runs apt update, upgrade, dist upgrade, auto remove, auto clean. If when you do things, you like to make sure you're removing what you want to remove, updating what you want to update, or upgrading what you want to upgrade, then you don't want to use this script. All right. I use it just because if it's removing something, I probably don't use it anyways. There are a lot of tools built into these operating systems that I just don't use. And if I need to reinstall a package or reinstall something, I don't have a problem doing that. If something breaks and I was like, oh crap, I needed this to work, then I'll reinstall it. And you can always take notes of what's being deleted or removed or whatever the case may be. But the other thing it does is it pulls down Bloodhound, Neo4j, which is required for Bloodhound, Cobalt Strike, so the open source version of it. Yeah. Covenant. What else? There's a lot of other stuff here. DNS Recon, DNS Twist, Domain Hunter. So you can see it's installing and grabbing all this stuff for you from GitHub. So a lot of the open source tools that people use that are on GitHub, it pulls down. So yes, it bloats your operating system even more to an extent. But some of these tools aren't installed by default, not even on Kali. So it puts them all in the same directory. They all go into /opt, right? And then on top of that, you can run, and the reason these ones are installed is because you can run a lot of these from Discover itself. So if I do this, or quit, clear, and just do /discover.sh. And we look at the top ones. So recon, scanning, web, or miscellaneous. There's a lot you can do here. All right, you've got starting a Metasploit listener, generating payloads, Nikto, opening tabs in Firefox. There's a lot of different things that you can do, and all Discover is a bash script that encompasses a lot of tools. When you're looking at domain recon, it uses things like DNS Twist, DNS Recon, Recon NG, the Harvester, so many other tools to do its passive recon. And it's configured with all the options for you to look at LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, all these different things. So it's a tool that's really good. And if you're going to use it, I mean, if you're doing a lot of OSINT or pen tests and just want to get a lot of information quickly, it's one of the best ways to do it. Keep in mind, when it generates its reports, there are times that it'll collect names on people that it'll say belong to a company that probably don't or haven't. But whether by email or whatever other reason, it's showing that, hey, so-and-so belonged to a company. I ran this on my own company, well, one of my older companies that I had, and it said something like 50 people belong to Scheller Cybersecurity, and it was just me. I was the only one. So you do get data overload at times, but it's still an awesome tool to use, and I've used it quite efficiently in the past on other clients to give them an overview of what people can pull from the internet. And completely open source. It never touches a network, right? So when you're doing a passive scan, it's all passive information. So Discover is one of the tools. Now, the other thing about this is we can go here, and I did a video on Arch Linux, or Black Arch rather, and again, I wasn't a fan. But if we go here to applications, so privacy is where you get your Anon surf, right? That's where the GUI is. And again, it used to allow for both GUI and terminal, but I guess they moved that. Here you can have EncryptPad, GPA, Siri Kali, so it's an encrypted folder manager, ZuluCrypt, ZuluMount. So the privacy stuff is here. Metadata cleaner, you can do secure file deleter. And if we go down to pen testing, all their tools are broken out. So much like those that have used Kali, it's broken out into different places. And honestly, I love the way Parrot sets their stuff up. And again, this is the KDE desktop environment. So different desktop environments will set it up differently. So if you use GNOME or if you use any of the other environments that are out there, yours may look different. But generally speaking, their applications in their menu will look the same. No, I am not logged on as a root user, Para. Actually, this terminal is only to pull Discover. Discover was a root user. It was just a terminal. I'm actually logged on just as a user. And that's because within Parrot, you create a user when you do the install, and that is how you log on to the machine. So they take security more seriously than Kali used to. KDE does telemetry, doesn't it? I don't know offhand. I haven't done a whole lot of research into the desktop environment. I just know that because of my graphics card and a lot of the way KDE Plasma was being utilized when I was using the hardware actually on my desktop and not in a virtual environment, I like the way KDE Plasma looked. I like the way it felt. So that's why I've always used it. KDE once ate my homework. I do know that I was forced to switch desktop environments unknowingly. I was messing around with some stuff. Can ParrotOS be used as a daily driver? Yes, it can be used as a daily driver. I used to use it. I used it quite frequently, except for the fact that when I started doing my videos and my YouTube channel, after a while I got tired of trying to fix the graphics issues, where I could not render videos in a realistic amount of time. So a 15-minute video was taking me an hour to render just because my AMD graphics card and the drivers that I was using, it just wasn't working out right. That is honestly the only reason I switched back to Windows, was because of doing these videos. So I love Parrot, though. I'd still be on it if it wasn't for the fact that my printer at the time and my graphics card at the time just weren't having fun using ParrotSec. It was a pain to get to work. So yeah, if it wasn't for that, I'd still be on it. I love Parrot. They also have a home edition. So if you are not using the offensive security tools, they do have a home edition that allows you to, if you want to install an offensive tool here or there, you can. But it offers a lot more as far as home use stuff. So LibreOffice, which may or may not be on here. Let's take a look. But it's more geared towards the home user versus the offensive security user. So the pen testing tools aren't necessarily there. Yes, ParrotOS, ParrotSec, Parrot Home are Debian-based. Kali is Debian-based. Ubuntu is Debian-based. And Debian, of course, is Debian-based. So all the derivatives from the Debian are all use APT and things like that. So if it runs on Debian, so anytime you go to install something and it's looking for either Ubuntu or Debian, you can use those install files. If it's looking for now Arch or Red Hat or Fedora, those are the files you don't want. Anything that's based on Debian or Ubuntu, yes, you can install those applications or whatever, and they run flawlessly. I've never had an issue with them. Internet. So some of the nice things about Parrot, it does have a Bitcoin wallet. So if you're into crypto, if that's your thing, it has a Bitcoin wallet on here. You can edit your themes. You can modify your themes any way you want. It has an RSS reader. It has an IRC client. I used to use HexChat a lot. I've never used this KDE Connect. So if anybody has used KDE Connect, let me know. And SecCon, as far as questions being asked, so far I've answered whether or not I was logged on as root user. Does KDE do telemetry? Can ParrotOS be used as a daily driver? And yeah, I think that's the those are the three I hadn't mentioned. I try to running this on multiple channels. I try to keep everybody updated of the questions being asked. It's the only downside to multi-streaming and using Restream, but I'll keep you guys updated as I go along. So we got about 6 minutes left. So again, if anybody does use ParrotSec as a daily driver or test it out and test this KDE Connect, which is device synchronization, please let me know if you like it or how it works. I've never used it, so I know nothing about KDE Connect. KDE Connect SMS. So it looks like what they're tying in within KDE in their desktop environment. So anybody on Linux that's using the KDE desktop environment should have these features. So mail, client, and mail header theme editor. If you're using KDE, please let me know if you've used any of these. I'd love to know more about them. I just don't use Linux as a daily driver as far as bare metal install on my computer anymore. So please let me know if you like them and how good they are. So going beyond that, so that's your internet stuff. You guys, we went over pen testing. Well, we didn't go into some of the tools. So information gathering breaks it down even further. One of the things you should know about Linux, if you want to know if a tool is there or if you have access to it, rather, which will show you where it's running out of if you can access it. So which will say, so if you do echo $env, is that it? No. Print env. There it is. All right. Echo path. That's it. So if there is a binary in your path, which in that binary will show you where in your path it lies. When you're looking at pen testing and things of that nature, knowing your path helps because then you can see everything that you can go to those directories and see what you can run. So that's like when I did which Python, which nmap, they're all in user bin. All right. Now some things may be installed somewhere else because snap is on here. So you can do snap install Discord. I believe that's command. Unfortunately, Eladio, and please excuse me if I butcher your name, because of my videos, my daily OSs are Mac OS X and Windows right now, because I do these videos. I wasn't able to get my graphics card driver to work properly to encode or render videos in a reasonable amount of time. But all right, so snap install Discord. So as you can see in my path, I have snap bin, which means I have the snap application manager. And this allows me snap just like APT or apt or whatever, and any other package manager. This allows me to install applications. So if you are going to use Parrot as your daily driver, you have the ability to use snap. You have the ability to use apt. You have the ability to use dpackage. Anything of those along those lines. Along with all of the other scripting and offensive security tools and everything else there. And as we go week to week, I'm going to end up getting into Nmap and doing some Nmap scanning, as well as Metasploit. And I don't know. We'll see how deep it goes. We'll go down the rabbit hole. Probably do a little bit with Burp Sweep and OWASP and things of that nature. But for right now, I love ParrotSec, right? I love everything it offers. And honestly, if you just keep asking questions, feel free to ask. I don't mind answering them. And again, Snap is here. A lot of people don't like Snap. I don't necessarily have a problem with it. But everybody has their own cases. Have you heard of the Harvester? Eladio, I don't know if you missed it earlier when I was talking about the Discover scripts. The Harvester is actually a tool used by the Discover scripts as well. So yes, I have used it. Not independently, so I have not used it on its own. But I have used it as part of doing Discover and OSINT. And as long as you put your API keys in the YAML file, so SecCon, if you caught that, the question was, have you heard of the Harvester, and have I used it? But yeah, as long as you put your API keys in the YAML file, then it is an amazing tool. The Harvester and ReconNG combined, and what they do is just far and away amazing in how they operate. So yeah, I have used the harvester. Again, though, not independently, only built into Discover. So I know when it runs, and I know what it does and what it's accessing, but I've never used it independently. I've always used it in a group of other tools when doing my OSINT and data collection. So I got about a minute left. So before I go, any other questions before we roll? Since I mentioned Nmap, and this is from FOMAT since I mentioned Nmap, what are my favorite flags to start with? Oh, it's a rough one. So I always use SC. Well, I'll do it one of two ways. And sometimes it's just because I do things in overkill fashion. If I'm doing a CTF, or something where, if I'm doing a pen test where a client knows that I can be loud, I will use TAC SC, SV. I may start with just the common ports. It depends on how froggy I'm feeling and how much I can abuse the system. So I'll either do the common ports and not put a port recommendation in there, or I'll do all ports. Those are my options. And then -OS or -O, I believe it is. And then I'll do output it all to file. So to put that into both chats. So my command is usually nmap-sc-v-o, I believe it is, -OA, with whatever. So we'll say IP, or not IP, target as the name, and then -p dash, or null. I won't put ports in there, and then IP. So let's put that in the Twitch also. Control C, Control V. So that and that. So that is generally my Nmap starting out. And again, that's usually if I'm doing a CTF or against a client that knows I'm coming and I'm allowed to be loud and noisy, and I'm not trying to be quiet. But saying that, we are at our time limit, and it's been great having you all. Today was a little bit different. So last week I had more people in Twitch. Today I have more people on YouTube. So either way, it's awesome to see you all. I'm glad you all joined me. And to be completely honest, I hope you all join me every Friday and every Tuesday. So Friday for Security Happy Hour, Tuesday for Tech Tuesday, and as always on Mondays I will be posting my pre-recorded Motivational Monday. If you're looking to support me, go ahead, check the description down below. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Twitch, I believe I have it there. If not, there's always that donation button that you can hit. And I will catch you all next week. Please come prepared with questions, comments, things you want to cover, and we will go over it. I am dedicating an hour every Tuesday to do all this stuff. So be sure to join us then, and I will catch you all next time.